I take care of everything out here. I clothe the grass, the beautiful flowers. And if I'm going to do that for a bird and for some weeds, how much more am I going to take care of you? Why do you take thought for it? Why do you worry about it? Why are you so concerned about it? Because you have little faith. I believe we have faith. And I believe, honestly do believe. We know what we have comes from God. We do give, I've heard people in here do it, give God praise for what they've been given, for God feeding them, taking care of them, giving them a home. I've heard God do that, but yet we still go and take thought for it. And we are not supposed to do that. God said, why do you take thought for it? I take care of everything. Why are you worried about it? Don't you know I will take care of you? You don't know because you have little faith. The church, in general, for the most part, has little faith. Yes, we say, I know it all comes from God. I thank God for my job, and I really do. I thank God I have a home. I really do. I thank God I'm not going hungry. I thank God I have clothes to put on, but yet I still worry about it. That's little faith. If I had faith that was the way it was supposed to be, I wouldn't give it a second thought. You can't do that. Yeah, you can, or it wouldn't be in the book. It's possible, or he wouldn't have put it in there. He didn't put the impossible in there. He put the possible in there. With God, all things are possible. I feel so guilty sometimes. I feel like I've let God down so much because of all the things he said in the book, and I do the opposite. I say I trust him. I say I love him. I say I believe him. I say I know everything in there is true, and I act differently. Why do I do that? Because I have little faith. We are to feel bad for not trusting God the way we're supposed to trust God. For not believing God the way that we should believe God. He said, you worry about all this stuff. Your clothes, your food, and this and that and everything else because you have little faith. And don't get me wrong. Little faith will get you a little. And I'm going to be completely honest and open with you. I live with a little. Most of us in here live with a little.
Yeah. That's right, amen.
Well, God's just testing me. God's just trying me. Did he tell you that? No, he told you whatsoever things you ask in faith, believe, and it shall be done.
That's right.
That's what he told you. He said, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, nothing shall be impossible for you. He told you that. He didn't put in there, I'm going to make you be poor. I'm going to make you struggle. I'm going to make you have to scrimp and scrape and all this stuff to even get by. He didn't put that in there. And yes, some do, because he has a purpose and a reason, but I truly believe that you know it in your heart. He will let you know. And even if you got to live like that, you'll be perfectly content. You won't be constantly worried. You won't be constantly upset. You won't be constantly down. But we are, because we have little faith. And little faith gets you little. Matthew chapter 8. Verse 5. And when Jesus was entered into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion, beseeching him and saying, Lord, my servant lieth at home sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. And Jesus saith unto him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me, and I say to this man, Go, and he goeth, and to another, Come, and he cometh. And to my servant, do this, and he doeth it. When Jesus heard it, he marveled, and said to them that followed, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. We talked about little faith. This man had great faith. Listen, just Listen to the way the Bible talks about this. That man said, I don't need to see anything. I don't need to be anointed. I don't need hands laid on me. I don't need nothing else to happen. I asked you, and I know you're going to do it. That's great faith. You don't have to come to my house. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. You say the word, and I know it's done. That's great faith. Listen, he has said the word. You're holding it in your hand. He has said the word. If we had great faith, we would know it is done. That man knew it was done. He gave the example. I'm a man who tells this one to do this and this one to do that, and I tell my servant to do this. What is he saying? I know when I say it, they do it. I don't have to see it. I know it's happening. It's the same thing with God. We need to know that when he says it, it's happening. We need to know that when we follow what he said and do things that he said the way he said, we need to know it's happening. We don't have to see something. We don't have to come and be anointed. These are all biblical things in their place. But listen, we're always looking for something that we can lay our hands on, that we can touch, that we can feel, that we can see physically, that we can hear physically. That's not the way it's supposed to be. God said it, that's it. That's how it's supposed to be. That's great faith. Great faith will get you great things. Little faith will get you a little. We need to develop great faith. If we don't understand what is available to us, we're never going to go get it. We need to understand this is truth. This is truth. And Jesus said these things. You can move the mountain. You can have your needs met without worrying about it. Whatsoever you ask, you can get. Nothing will be impossible for you. There's one key. You've got to have great faith. If you believe. Listen, Jesus marveled. Jesus marveled. That just jumped out at me. This man's faith was so great that Jesus marveled. And because his faith was so great, goes on, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel, and I say unto you, many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out in outer darkness, there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And Jesus said unto the centurion, Go thy way, and as thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee. And his servant was healed in the same hour. The servant said, the centurion said, I know if you say the word, it's done. Jesus marveled at such great faith. And so he said for the guy to go. And the guy went on his way. And when he got there, it was done. But you know what? That centurion didn't have to get home to know it. He knew it when Jesus said it. He didn't have to see it before he believed it. And that's our problem. We got to see it before we believe it. He believed it before he saw anything happen. He knew it was done before anything ever happened. Before he even got home and saw the result, he knew that it would happen. He said, just say the word. Just say the word and I know it's done. As soon as Jesus spoke, that man knew the answer was done. He knew it was completed. He knew his servant was healed. We want to see something. We've got to just believe what the word says. Totally believe it. Trust it. Hang on to it. Jesus told him, go thy way. Listen. And these principles apply. As thou hast believed, so be it unto you. The same applies to us. As you have believed, so be it unto you. Answer this for yourself, in your mind. Do you really believe you can move a mountain? Or is it just a metaphor? Do you really believe that whatever you ask? He said whatever. He didn't say some things. He didn't say accept this or that. Do you really believe that whatever you ask, you do it? Do you really believe that if your faith is strong enough, nothing will be impossible? All my Christian life I've said, yes, I believe that. I've yet to live that. We need to live it. But I'm going to tell you, we can't live it because we have little faith. We need to develop our faith. We need to grow our faith. We need to increase our faith. Listen, the disciples went to Jesus and asked, increase our faith. You can go to God and pray and ask, increase our faith. But what did he tell them? I say to you, if you had faith as a grain of mustard seed, then you would do this stuff. That's the answer. To get increased faith is to have faith as a grain of mustard seed. I already gave you the example about follow the leader. That if I say, do as I do, then you're doing what I do. You're copying me. If I do this, you do this. If I do this, you do this. You're doing what the leader does. So he had said to have faith as a grain of mustard seed. He said to do what a mustard seed does. What does a mustard seed do? It grows. It grows. We have to grow our faith. In the book of Mark, in chapter 4, and verse 30, and he said, whereunto shall we liken the kingdom of God, or with what comparison shall we compare it? It is like a grain of mustard seed, which, when it is sown in the earth, is less than all the seeds that be in the earth. But when it is sown, it groweth up, and becometh greater than all herbs, and shooteth out great branches, so that the fowls of the air may lodge under the shadow of it. That's what a mustard seed does. It grows. When it's planted, when it starts out, it's a little thing. It is the smallest of all the seeds. But once it is planted, it grows. It increases. It gets bigger. It shoots out branches. It becomes something that is so big that the birds can lodge in the branches. Think again about the mustard seed. It's a tiny little thing. You ain't going to see no birds lodging in a mustard seed. But once it grows, it becomes so big that the birds can lodge in it. It becomes the greatest of all the herbs. As a seed, what does he say it is? It's the least. Until it grows. Your faith has to grow. The answer, when the disciples said, increase our faith, the answer was, be as a mustard seed. Grow your faith. How do you grow anything? You feed it. You have to nourish it. You have to water it. You have to take care of it. And you have to give it what it needs so that it will take that into itself and become bigger and become healthy and become stronger. And that's what we have to do if we want to grow our faith. If we want to increase our faith, we have to feed it. How do we feed our faith? What feeds your faith is the result of faith. If you have a little faith, start there. Go to God believing for something little. And when he does that, it's easier to believe for something a little bigger. You have to grow in steps. The mustard seed is small. He said, be as a mustard seed. He didn't say a mustard seed is the smallest. But when you put it in the ground, boom, it's big. No, it has to grow. It takes time. It increases and slowly becomes what it's going to end up being. And that's how we have to be. We've got to do this one step at a time, a little bit at a time. But the problem is, instead of from the time you were born again and throughout your Christian life, instead of growing in the faith, we've stopped. We've accepted what little measure of faith we got and settled there. The Bible says God gives every man a measure of faith. And most of us were being content to stay right there and never go any further. But Jesus said that we need to grow it. We need to increase it. It needs to become big. It needs to become strong. It needs to become that thing that once it has fully grown, then it is the greatest. He said then it was the greatest of all the earth. Listen, I started off talking about how important faith is in the life of a Christian. I would say that faith is the greatest thing. He said that mustard seed, once it had grown, became the greatest. Our faith can become the greatest thing in our life. It's not right now. It's not. You can disagree. You can think what you want to think. Look at your own life, your situation, your circumstance, what you're dealing with, what you're going through. If your faith was the greatest thing in your life, these things would not be so. You wouldn't be concerned, as he said, take no thought for what you will eat, for what you will wear, for where you will live. Don't even think about it. It shouldn't even enter your mind if your faith is that great. It should never even cross your mind, because you already know God's got it. You already know it's done. That mustard seed faith thing, I believe, has stifled a lot of Christians. I really do. I believe I'm one of them. Because all I've heard, all you got to have is faith the size of a grain of mustard seed. All you got to have is faith the size of a grain of mustard seed. All you got to have is faith the size of a grain of mustard seed. That's all I've heard. But God has revealed to me, that's not what he said. If you have little faith, and I could have went many places. Jesus said to the disciples so many times, wherefore didst thou doubt, O you of little faith? They couldn't cast out the demon. Why? Because they had little faith. And it's throughout the Word that he says, according to your faith, be it unto you. If your faith is big enough, you get the big stuff. It's according to what you believe. You have what your faith has delivered to you. So whatever you have right now, however you're living right now, is a measure of where your faith is at right now. It does not have to be this way. God doesn't want it to be this way. But we have got to understand, not just say the words. And we do this. And I've said them all. I've said them all my life. And it's not until very recently that God really began to open my eyes. All things are possible, God. Do you know that? Really, all things. We say all things, but we don't mean all things. But they are, because he said, if your faith is strong enough, nothing shall be impossible. I feel cheated. I feel slighted. Somebody didn't tell me this a long time ago so that I could grow into it. But I can't blame somebody else because I've had that book. But I accepted what was said from there. Mm-hmm. And they said, all you got to have is that little tiny bit and you'll be fine. And we eat it up and we go on our way. And they said up there, well, maybe you just have to go through this because God's using it to teach somebody else. And I accepted it and went on. That's not what the book says. It's not in there. But we've bought into it and we've accepted it and we've lived that way. We don't have to live that way. We can live victorious over our problems. We can live victorious over our troubles. We can live victorious over our situations and over our circumstances. We can live victorious in all areas of our life if our faith is big enough. It's time that we understand that we are God's children. We get to sit at the big table. We get the good stuff. We don't have to sit at the kids' table. We don't have to crawl under the table like the dogs and lick up the crumbs. We get the good stuff. Everything, all the good things of God are ours. But we've